Hello, thanks for being in a new video. This time I have with me the Samsung Neo QLED and we're going to give it a full review. Let's get started. The specific model is QN800D. Remember, there may be variations, so that's the exact model if you want to know the specific detail. Walk me through the design that this TV is going to offer us, because Samsung calls it Infinity One. That means it's going to offer us a super slim bezel. Notice how it doesn't have such noticeable bezels, and it also has a very slim profile in thickness. Then, this frame also comes with some perforations that give it a very sleek design. It is quite a minimalist design, especially since the brand logo comes only in this corner and it comes very small so that it is not drawing too much attention. To be honest, I find the design extremely pleasing. The thickness on the profile is 17.6 millimeters, and this is thanks to the fact that it has an external box where all the connectors will come. This is called the One Connect box, and we are going to be able to place it on the base of the TV, so the TV remains quite slim, and also there are no cables getting in the way in this part. There are two ways to place this TV. If you want to place it on its base, to place it on a table, you can do so, and the One Connect box will be mounted on this base. However, you can also mount the TV on the wall thanks to the VESA mount that incorporates a standard, so you'll be able to do that action easily. And the One Connect box, you can mount it on the back of this TV, or you can also place this One Connect box on the bottom in some furniture completely hidden, so you keep a very elegant design of your home. Then it comes with two integrated cables, a small cable and a long cable, as remember that the TV connects to the One Connect box with a simple cable, and so you avoid so many cables hanging on your wall. That gives a very nice aesthetic to the whole design of this TV. On this One Connect box are going to come all connectors, so come 4 HDMI ports, 3 USB-A ports, 1 USB-C port, 1 Ethernet port to connect the wired internet, and we also have the antenna connection in case you still consume open signal content, although most will use their TV for streaming content, but you can also have this option. The HDMI connector number 3 is the one that comes with EARC. That is, it is going to allow you the audio output as well, so you can place your soundbar there. By the way, in this case, I'm using the Q900D bar from the Q Series 2024. In this case, thanks to the Q Symphony technology, it is able to connect very easily to the TV. In addition, it also has a built-in subwoofer and 2 other speakers that connect wirelessly. You simply plug them into the power and the system is ready to give you a super immersive experience. So it is 100% recommended to acquire it in conjunction with your TV if you want a fully immersive experience. So this soundbar, you're going to connect it through port number 3 to your TV, and the connection is super simple. And in fact, we're also going to have a very clean connection experience with the subwoofer and the other speakers, because they don't need to be wired to the soundbar. They're going to wirelessly transmit the audio, and they just need to be plugged into the power. So you gain much more cleanliness in your distribution. In addition, the HDMI connectors come with advanced protocols so that through the same TV remote control, you can control external devices that you connect to your TV. It also has an optical audio output in case you want to connect any other sound system. And something important to note is that it comes with Wi-Fi 6, so it can offer you very high download speeds, which is very important for streaming video games, which we will talk about in a moment, or also to view content in very high resolution. So the design of the TV has certain particularities that you don't find in other TVs due to the One Connect box, which can become its most attractive point for having very few cables in sight. Now let's talk about the controls. And I'm talking in the plural because not only can you use the solar cell remote, but you could also use your smartphone, or you could use a voice assistant to control this TV. So let's start by talking about the solar cell remote, which, as the name suggests, it's not going to use batteries, it's going to charge with sunlight, and even in this generation it's with just ambient light, so you don't even need to take it out in the sun or anything like that. It's just going to be recharged by daylight, and that's definitely an advantage both for you as a user and for the environment. So that's a very important plus that Samsung offers on this TV as well. The control has a super minimalistic design. Notice that the buttons with colors are only on this part, and that's the power button and the quick settings button, which I'll show you in a moment. There is also a microphone to receive your audio and a button to start voice commands. Then we'll find the navigation buttons along with the select button. There's also the back button, the home screen, and the button to pause or resume content. And something I really like about this control is that the volume and channel change buttons have 3 actions in one button. That is, you can scroll up to increase the volume, or you can scroll down to decrease the volume, or you can press this button to mute the TV completely. So you have 3 actions, and with the channel you can also scroll up or down or press it to enter the content guide. Then we will find the direct access buttons to platforms such as Netflix, Samsung TV Plus, Amazon Prime Video, and Disney Plus. And again, the strategy is repeated. Samsung has a very minimalist control in terms of design, very thin, compact, and comfortable in the hand, and very elegant as it does not have too many colors. Even the buttons of the streaming platforms come in black and white, giving a touch, as I say, very elegant. As an additional fact, the soundbar also has a control that has a very similar design, although in this case it does use batteries and also has a button to pair it to other Bluetooth devices. So it is not exclusive to the TV, but you can also connect other devices to enjoy this good sound experience. And note that also through your cell phone you have direct access buttons to different platforms or applications of the TV, and you can swipe up so you can finally have this other interaction with the controls. You have exactly the same navigation buttons to interact with your TV, or you can press this button and just swipe with your finger to switch between different zones. So it can also become quite useful depending on which navigation system you prefer. There will also be navigation buttons, channel controls, and more. And at the bottom you can swipe to find more options. Then we have this other way to control your TV. Even in the bottom tab you will also find more options, such as accessing the ambient mode or some other recommendations, because for example you could also use the phone as a gamepad if you do not have a specific gamepad at home. You can use the cell phone to calibrate the screen colors, you can share the cell phone camera with TV applications, and you can also answer calls and duplicate your screen, which we will talk about a little later. But all the options come in the Samsung SmartThings application, where by the way you can also have other types of devices. And finally, as I anticipated, you can also control the TV through voice. It can be through the control, or it can be simply by speaking, depending on all the settings that you adjust. Within the settings, you can go into the voice settings to select your favorite assistant. You can select Alexa. It's not available hands-free, but Bixby is available, and obviously it requires a setup process so that you can teach it your voice. So I'm going to leave on the option that Bixby can react at any time, and we're going to put next. So when you have Bixby selected, you can enable this setting, although you need to have the soundbar microphone on, because you could also turn it off if you want that setting. Then we can learn all the voice controls through the Bixby app that you have. You can go to the tutorials to learn everything that you could get to do. So those are the options that we have to control the TV. Let's talk now about the picture quality that this TV is capable of giving us. We are talking about Samsung's Neo QLED 80K technology. That is, it features quantum matrix technology and quantum mini LED with very small areas of backlighting on the back to manage contrast well. And it also includes another layer to optimize color saturation and also handle contrast a little bit better. So it's a display that can definitely manage to give a very good viewing experience. But the highlight of this screen is undoubtedly its 8K resolution. And you might be wondering, what good is the resolution going to do me, if in reality the contents that I am going to visualize are in 4K or a lower resolution? What you should know is that this screen comes with a Samsung's latest generation processor. It's called NQ8AI Gen 2, so it includes twice as many neural networks as last generation. It used to have ones of about 128, now it has 256 neural networks that through artificial intelligence are going to rescale the content so that you can see it with much more definition. So even though the content you are watching is not in 8K, you will be able to somehow take advantage of the resolution that this screen has. It also offers a refresh rate of 120 Hz, very useful for video games, which we'll talk about later. And the viewing angles are positive. In this case, you should also know that it comes with an anti-reflective finish, which is quite nice. It doesn't give the feeling of a matte screen because that's what the frame is for, but it does manage to avoid reflections in an important way. And through the control, you can press the quick settings button to access the settings in a very easy way. I like that you have the brightness control very close, although it already includes an automatic brightness sensor. But if you're like me who likes to suddenly lower the brightness to very low levels, especially at night, it can become very useful. And obviously you're also going to count on too much brightness. In fact, right now, in order to shoot video well, I have it on super low brightness so you can see me well and the screen well. But if I turn the brightness up to maximum, you're going to see that it's a super bright screen. It is also compatible with HDR content, and what this type of content does is to have a higher intensity of brightness in some areas of the screen to give more realism. So you can also achieve that here. It also includes a technology called Shape Adaptive Light Control, through which it is able to optimize the contrast of images. Since through artificial intelligence, it can recognize the shape of objects to better optimize this backlight. Although for the most demanding with respect to the specific control of lighting and contrast, possibly they will enjoy much more of a Samsung OLED, just as an additional comment. But something interesting about this display as well is that it comes with colors validated by Pantone, which is 100% dedicated to everything that has to do with color. So the color accuracy is going to be very good on this display. But in this case, we are also going to have through the settings more options, not just the brightness. Although the brightness is in the quick settings section, but you can access all the settings. Then in the image settings, you will notice that there are two quick modes, an optimized mode or a comfortable mode for the eyes. But in the expert settings, we are going to find all kinds of parameters to manipulate our display. It can be contrast, sharpness, color, hue, well, too many things and optimizations that you can turn on or off. I even like that it includes automatic HDR remastering. So even if you're watching content that's not recorded in HDR, it can give a better dynamic range to all the images. And well, lots of other things. Some of them are not available if you're not inside some streaming application, but definitely that there are a lot of options here for you to manipulate the image specifically to your liking. Or just if you want to have the quick automatic adjustment of the optimized mode, you can get that as well. Samsung also has other optimizers for image enhancement. So if you're someone who likes to watch a lot of sports, it comes with AI Motion Enhancer Pro, which is going to automatically detect what sport you're watching through artificial intelligence, and it's going to optimize all the movements to make them look much more realistic. Let's move on now to talk about the sound. And obviously in this case I'm going to talk a lot about the sound bar. But without considering the sound bar, the display anyway is already Dolby Atmos compatible. Although obviously the experience is going to go to another level if you use the sound bar with all of Samsung's specialized accessories, as they have a feature called Q Symphony. This feature allows us to have a perfect synchronization between the soundbar and the TV so that everything goes perfectly well harmonized. You will have a surround sound experience. And it has other sound-focused technologies like Adaptive Sound Pro, which again through artificial intelligence will detect what kind of content you are listening to, optimize it to the maximum. And they also have Object Tracking Sound Plus, which will detect the direction in which objects are moving to also optimize that surround sound experience. If you're going to the right, you're going to hear more to the right, and the same thing will happen if you're going to the left or another direction. And as part of the Samsung ecosystem, it also allows Galaxy Buds to be connected. So if at night you don't want to disturb anyone, you can perfectly well connect your Bluetooth headphones, and you even have the USB-A audio feature if you have your Galaxy Buds connected. So we have a totally complete audio experience. And speaking specifically about the soundbar, I must say that the audio experience is very good, especially because of the immersive mode that it has by placing speakers behind you on the sides, because you can really enjoy movies much more in that mode. Also, through the remote control, you can have specific control of the buffer power. So if you like your bass really loud, you could turn it up. And if you don't like it that loud, you can also turn it down. It has different sound modes that you can control through the control on the bar or through the control on the TV because they're perfectly synchronized. So I want you to look at through the TV how it has the adaptive sound mode, the standard mode, also a surround mode, and also a game mode. Then it's up to you what you want to select, but believe me, with all of them, it gives you a good experience. A lot of it is going to depend on what you are watching, but personally I did like the surround mode. The volume will obviously be very loud, so you can enjoy a very good audio experience with this TV as well. Let's talk about the operating system because it's something that I really like to highlight as well, especially doing my power on test. Notice that in this case the TV has just completely turned off, and we're going to turn it on and see how long it takes before we can start using it. Notice that it first shows us a screen where it presents Samsung Knox Security, which is what we'll talk about in a moment. Then this animation appears and finally we can start using it. And notice that it goes pretty smoothly. It doesn't feel like it freezes at some point when you're interacting here and browsing through the list of content. We are in front of the Tizen operating system that Samsung has been perfecting little by little. It has recently received this renovation where the main navigation is placed in the sidebar with different categories. I think everything is perfectly well organized. In the quick recommendations, we have our app dock at the top. Obviously, we can edit this list to select which apps we want to place here and if we want to place them elsewhere as well. In this case, it's the apps I have installed, but we can also access the apps tab so we can browse new content and download more apps. In this case, the truth is that Samsung is one of the manufacturers that has greater compatibility with applications. Note that it is available Max, Star Plus, VIX, and many others that you can download to use directly from your TV. Then once you install them, they will appear on your main screen, and from there you can reposition them to specify the order that suits you best. So it's a lot of applications that you have available on this TV, and as you saw, the navigation seems to me very organized. On this main screen we have 3 tabs. Discover is where it's just going to show you suggestions of content from different streaming platforms, which can help you explore content even on platforms that you don't have, so you can consider whether or not you want to access these platforms later on with a subscription. But in the top bar, Samsung also offers you some recommendations of free channels that you have available through Samsung TV Plus. These channels will obviously vary depending on different regions or countries. In Mexico, the truth is that the selection is quite good. You have a lot of free content to watch without having to pay any subscription, so that's a good advantage of Samsung TV Plus. In fact, that's why there is specifically this live channel section where you can explore in much more detail different categories of content that you can explore, as I say, totally free. Then note that you also have the ability to browse a guide of content going live, and you can select obviously the category that interests you the most. So Samsung TV Plus can also become an important attraction if you are considering the amount of content that you will be able to enjoy through your TV in addition to the subscriptions that you could pay with different platforms. But in addition to this category, which is the main screen, note that there are other screens. The gaming screen we'll get to in a moment, but first let me show you the ambient screen, because notice that Samsung has some cover art that you can use to leave your TV on as decoration. As you can see, K-pop fans can enjoy a special section, but if you don't really like K-pop, don't worry, you can enjoy other special sections with different designs. I think they have a great variety, and at some point you are going to find one that specifically suits your tastes. There are some nature ones, some a little more abstract, some art ones, and believe me, they all look great on your TV. Watch how you simply select, in some cases, download the content, and it will adapt because it will adjust the brightness to look a little more natural in your home. That is, it will be, as I said, simply as decoration. So you can change this obviously and select the cover that you like the most, but all of them have a subtle movement to give a nice touch to your day as well. Or you also have routines, so you can automate all these available covers. So that's another very important section. You can also set a timer so that after a certain time it turns off, and also if you want to have the automatic brightness or not. So this whole category is also important because it's something that's not as commonly included on other TVs. Now let me go to another screen which is called Daily Plus. This screen is more focused on home use. So by default, SmartThings appears, which is a Samsung platform with which you can control all the devices in your home. For example, you could ring your cell phone if you can't find it. In this case, I could also turn on the living room light directly from the TV. I believe that if this action was noticed, I could also turn it off. I could even turn on the air conditioner that I have up here directly from the TV. So as you can see, you have a nice catalog of options that you can control directly from your TV. In fact, something I like is that even while you're on YouTube or watching any other content, you can press the quick settings button and watch the SmartThings indicator pop up as well. If you open that option, you will be able to take a look at your favorite camera, which in my case would be the ringer, and you will also have quick access to the devices you use the most. You also get the option to call your phone or as favorite devices. So this in terms of productivity is very appealing, and I haven't seen it on other TVs, to be able to access your home device controls that quickly while still watching your favorite content. But let's go back to describing the Daily Plus category, which is going to have more to it than SmartThings. Obviously, SmartThings also gives you some suggestions. For example, for exercising from home, you could connect your cell phone camera while at the same time viewing a video of your workout. It also includes other access to recommended applications such as an analysis of your health in conjunction with other accessories, also workspace that will help you connect to your workplace. For example, you can connect remotely to a Windows computer. So even if you don't have it at home from your TV, you could get to control it also to a Mac, or also connect to Samsung DeX on your Galaxy. Then it also has productivity tools, which I find very curious, and you could get to use Microsoft 365 right from the TV. So if you suddenly have to edit a presentation, you can connect a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse to it and start using it as if it were a computer. So it gives you pretty attractive options in that regard. It also includes Philips Hue controls in case you want them. So I insist it's a TV that gives you a lot of features in addition to simply consuming streaming content, and I really like that. But before we go to the gaming section, let me tell you what's available in terms of wireless screen projection. Again, with your Galaxy, you're going to have the fullest experience through Smart View. Obviously, you have to give the necessary permissions, and you can project the screen in a full screen format or in a multi-view format. That is to say, you can have a content playing and at the same time the screen of your cell phone. So I'm going to project in the multi-view format and watch how this projection is done immediately. In this case, I have exactly the same Samsung account on the cell phone, and that's why you notice that the projection is done without any kind of confirmation. So in this case, it's a completely mirrored projection. Perfectly, you can be maybe consuming your social networks while watching some live event. But I want you to see how also in this part we are going to have an option to only project an application. Notice how I can continue to use my cell phone on anything else and the application is still projected within that screen. So it can also be useful if you suddenly want to do something or answer a message, because you can simply keep that projection and then you can resume that application to continue interacting. In fact, you could also pause Smart View briefly for you to do anything else on your phone, and then you can resume this advanced projection again. And as I say, you could also disable multi-view mode directly from the phone to have a completely mirrored projection. You could also project your screen from other compatible Android devices, although it's worth clarifying that it doesn't integrate Chromecast, but the soundbar does integrate Chromecast, so you can send sound as well. And note that if you have an Apple device, you're also going to be able to project your screen because it already integrates Apple AirPlay as well, although you can't have all the controls you have on a Galaxy. And in addition to being able to have your cell phone in a side tab when projecting, note that through multi-view you can access a lot more things. So let's go to the quick settings and see how in this part you can activate multi-view and you can add applications little by little, or you can also add your cell phone or even a projected computer as well. So in this case I'm going to add the Xbox, so you can notice how I could be playing my Xbox while doing other things on this side. Note that if I click down, I can also add the internet browser to give an example, and right now I have 3 apps added. Then notice how I could be using my Xbox while someone else is watching a video or while we are watching other channels or a web page. The truth is that the multitasking options offered by Samsung are very advanced, and as I said almost at the beginning of the video, you could use it to project the camera of your cell phone while you are doing an exercise to see if you are correctly following the steps of the person who is explaining. But Samsung not only offers you all this, but at the software level it also has power saving modes in case you are worried about that. Notice how in the quick settings the power saving solution will be available in this part. So you can turn it on and it's going to try to optimize the brightness and other sections of the system to consume less amount of power. So it's up to you as a user whether you want to use it or not. But there is something very serious that you should know, because smart TVs obviously being connected to the internet could come to have a certain level of threats, attacks, malware and more. But in this case, Samsung is also prepared for all this, so it integrates all the Samsung Knox technology, which is a security layer recognized by multiple institutions, even at military level. So all the passwords, all the pins, all the devices in your smart home are going to be safeguarded through this TV. So if you want to be sure that all the passwords that you enter through your TV or any controlled device is going to be very secure, believe me, Samsung offers a very good level of security and even has this security center where you can analyze the permissions that you have given to different applications. You can also have more information on all of this and access other security reports. So definitely that security experience is another point where this TV can stand out from competitors. Let's finish up by talking about the gaming experience. So let's go to this tab, because you should know that this TV already features streaming video games. So if you don't have a console, you could perfectly well connect a controller or even use your cell phone to have all this catalog of games available with different subscriptions, obviously. So one of my controllers is connected to the Xbox, another one of my controllers is connected to the TV. Notice from this controller I'm accessing my TV, so let's run one of these contents so you can see the advantages that video games in the cloud would offer you. The first advantage, besides not needing a console, is that you do not need to be updating the content. In consoles, there are usually always constant updates, and that can be a bit tedious. Personally, it always happens to me that when I want to play, it has an update and I have to wait for it to update, and it takes a long time, and when it finally updated, I don't have time to play anymore. So for me, it is a bit chaotic to use the consoles, and that is why it is an important advantage to have this option to enjoy video games in the cloud. Obviously, in this case, you are going to depend a lot on your internet connection, so it's going to vary. If you do not have such a good connection, obviously maybe the contents will not be as clear or as fluid as they will be when you have a console connected. So it will also depend on your level of gaming demand whether or not you're going to enjoy these cloud gaming options. But I love that Samsung is already integrating this option for those people like me. So notice how in this case I was immediately able to start playing without waiting for the game to receive updates or other things, and as you realize, the quality of the game goes pretty well. It is not free of some outages, because in this case my internet maybe is not as powerful or as supreme as it should be, but I insist, I think for me this experience is quite positive. Watch, let's score a goal to end this demo. Well, it seems that I couldn't on my first attempt, but on my second attempt I couldn't either, so no problem. This is simply a demonstration of video games in the cloud. Obviously, as I say, you require subscription to certain services, but if you hold down the Xbox button, notice that you can access here quickly to switch games, and that also gives you some really nice versatility in terms of multitasking. And while this other game is open, let me reopen this special panel, because from here you could also control your music. I mentioned at the beginning that you're going to be able to connect your Spotify account so you can quickly access your songs or podcasts that you're listening to here. You can also browse videos or also access settings for everything to do with games. So it's also an interesting panel that you have available, and finally you can go back to your game as you left it. So if you don't have a console, you can enjoy any way of video games on this TV, or if you want to always have the updated experience without having to be installing tedious updates, you can also enjoy the experience here. As I already pointed out, if your internet is not high enough in terms of speed, you might get to have some cuts when you are playing, but I think most content can get to run with a good enough quality for those of us who are not so demanding in terms of graphics. But if you are one of the most demanding, the time has come to change, and now we are going to open specifically the console. Obviously, if you are going to use the same gamepad, you would have to relink it. In this case, I have another gamepad linked to the console, and here happens what I tell you. If I want to get to play, suddenly the games have updates, but if you have enough patience for all the updates, or you usually play very often, so updates are not a problem for you, you could enjoy a very good experience. I'm going to have to wait for this game to update before I continue recording. But once you update your games, you can enjoy it. So in this case, the screen is running at about 120 frames per second at the moment, but it also has a technology called motion accelerator, which is able to bring the screen up to about 165 Hz at 4K. So it has very good capabilities as well when you're consuming video games. And not only does it have good hardware capabilities, but it also has AMD FreeSync Pro, NVIDIA G-Sync to have the lowest latency, and through software with Tizen Samsung adds other options. For starters, it has AI Auto Game Mode with what automatically detects the style of game to optimize colors, but also manually you can set the style of the game so that the colors and contrast look different and you can enjoy the best experience. It also has a fixed crosshair, so you can enjoy an additional feature for shooting games, quite useful for different styles. You could also have an ultra widescreen mode compatible with Windows, and another useful tool is the mini map area, as it can automatically detect the maps of these games and put them in a larger size on the left of the screen, so it brings quite interesting features also in software, so you can take advantage of the best experience when running your console games. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this screen for the moment. We have reached the end of this video. If you liked it, you know you can tell us, and we'll see you next time.